Welcome back to the 2024 Tire Rack One Lap of America presented by Grassroots Motorsport Magazine with coverage this year brought to you by Hooked on Driving, Everyday Driver, and the Valente Group. We are here, Bryan, myself, are here with Mark, Cody, and Claire, and they are a team in this year's One Lap. Mark, what is your team name? And then go ahead and expound upon yourselves, please.
So this year our team name is Mahogany Ridge Motors, and that's just basically the little shop I built down at the bottom of the hill to play around in, and we couldn't think of anything cooler at the time. So now we'll be driving our new M4 that was literally just purchased just because it's comfortable to do the one lap in. That'll be my third time on the one lap, second time competing. Cody's first time, so I'm excited to see what he thinks of it.
Yeah, it's super exciting. I'm excited to experience the thrill.
Yep. Now, for those of you who may remember way back when in, what was it, 2022, right? I think
Yep.
Mark came with me because my racing stig, Billy Johnson, couldn't get to us until later and he had to leave early. So Mark was my co-driver while Bryan had assumed all media duties for that year for the most part. And Mark was great then. He got a sense of the event, met some like-minded nuts out on the road and came back for more and has now dragged another nut into it. But what's also really cool is that Hooked on Driving, you guys just happened to take over Hooked on Driving Northeast, right? Tell us about that.
We did. So as of last Friday, Cody and I purchased Hooked on Driving Northeast. Um, and so NJMP was our very first event. Luckily, you were there, and a bunch of other people were there, obviously, to help us through it, along with Mike and Mona. It turned out to be a fantastic event. We're really excited. Cody and I have a ton of ideas. As you know, we've been talking to you about them. Things that we just want to do in addition to what Hooked on Driving does. Paul from Everyday Driver was there. We got to spend a lot of time with him. They're very enthusiastic, very excited, and they have a ton of great ideas coming. None of which we can share yet, but everyone should be really, really excited about it.
I thought the idea of having everybody drive in reverse was not as good of an idea as it could have been, but we'll flesh that out later. But it's true. You talk about Mike and Mona, for example, and they've also been on the one lap. Mike coming back again this year too, and I guess Bryan, maybe you can weigh on this also because you work a lot with the southern region, right? With Steve Furman down there. There's a lot of synergies between Hooked on Driving and the one lap. Obviously our event is more of a competitive event and it spans 1 week and sort of an entire season doing that. But from ownership of the different regions, as well as a lot of the people who you find populating the events, they're one lappers at the end of the day. And for me at least, it's been phenomenal and fantastic being able to intertwine those two worlds because I've got some of my best friends that I get to see in multiple capacities. What about you, Bryan?
It's the same with us. We have several one lappers that do our Southeast region. We've got Dr. Charles Lovelady, who is one of our coaches. The Wing Grandpas, which we'll be talking to tomorrow night, Wendell and John, they've come out to some of our events. Peter Lear from down in Florida, we've had him out on a couple of occasions, and gosh, we've had quite a few more. And it's always good to catch up with them, not during the week of May, but throughout the year. And it's also good for me because I'm like sort of north part of our region, so I'm able to come up, especially to VIR, and do some of the Northeast events too, and see a lot of the one lappers from the Northeast that do the event that come to HOD, and be able to hang out with them too.
Absolutely. Claire, so we haven't engaged much in this conversation yet, but you've been sort of by the, sort of hanging in the background here as Mark's been doing this the past couple of years this year. But, all those posts that we're seeing on Facebook, the uptick in social media, I have it on good authority that you're responsible for all those. So what are you sort of anticipating for this year for both Hooked on Driving and for the event?
Yeah, I think it's really about highlighting our community and the people, whether it's HOD staff or, um, our coaches, but also highlighting our drivers. And, the HOD community really is, to me, aside from the driving, because I'm not even really on track at all, the HOD community, the barbecues, the social time, that's very, very important to us. So you'll see a lot more of that to come, a lot more community building activity type of things, but very, very important to us.
And yet another, sort of uh, another good feature that we have at the One Lap, also that community. You talk about the barbecue afterwards. Mark, you've experienced it. Bryan, what do we do at the end of every long transit? We have our parking lot parties, right? And Cody, what you're to get introduced to is Howard's famous inauguration shots as well. So we're gonna have to initiate you as a One Lap pup this year. So on that, since we're on Cody, Cody, what about you? So you've heard about this event, obviously. Um, Whatever Mark's lied to you about it. You may have read some things about the event, whatever I've lied about on the website. But what is it that you're anticipating for this year? What are your expectations?
I'm super excited. I love being in the car. I love being on track, and I love snacks. So there's no better place to do it than from track to track, eating snacks. I'm super excited. I think it's going to be a great experience. The miles that we do, as Mark's been trying to prep me up for and understand, that it's going to be rough in between the tracks, but yeah, once we break that edge and on a downslope, it'll be refreshing at the end to complete it, right? So it's an achievement. I take it as an achievement, and I'm excited to bring it on. I mean, that's my outlook.
We're very excited to have you. I'll ask the two of you separately. I'll let Mark answer first and then Cody. But out of all the tracks that we're going to this year, what are you the most excited for? And which track do you think the tire will have the hardest time holding on to the most?
Uh, NCM, I'm the most excited for because I've actually been on that one in real life, so that's kind of cool. And I honestly don't know the rest of the tracks well enough. I think Pit Race is pretty aggressive on tires, and I know NCM is really tough on the left front. It's going to be interesting because I believe a lot of the tracks are going to be tough on the left front, especially on a bigger car like the one we're going to be in. So monitoring tire wear and keeping an eye on that, and maybe not blowing one off the rim would be a good idea. I don't know how that would happen, Shredder.
Are you speaking from experience?
Yes.
Maybe.
The answer, not me. All right, Cody, what about you? What are you looking forward to?
Hopefully not blowing a tire off the rim. We're definitely looking into that issue. As you know, last weekend we had one come off the rim. So I don't know who was driving the car at the time, but
Well, I do.
we'll put it as that. But we're definitely working on getting that issue sorted out, so it doesn't happen again. And honestly, I'm looking at every track to be the same. I haven't driven any of the tracks, so it's going to be a fresh view. I'm going to try to put a few laps maybe on a simulator on some certain tracks to make sure that I'm not going in totally blind. But I think every track's going to be the same. The exhilaration of first time on the pavement at that location and trying to learn it in a very, very short amount of time.
Absolutely. And, Bryan, I'll let you expand on it a little bit, but, what's nice about it is that we have tons of veterans who have been to a lot of these tracks, and, the One Lap's nature is that you can go over to anybody and ask about it. I mean, Bryan, why don't you expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, it's just exactly what he said. You can go up to any competitor that's well seasoned and ask them advice, because you're not competing against them. You're competing against the event. Your whole focus is getting back to South Bend on Friday night, doing the skid pad on Saturday, and having the great fellowship after the event. So everybody that has done this event multiple times will do anything to help you at a track.
Absolutely. And it's not even on track, it's on the road too. How many
Absolutely.
times have we seen people with mechanicals by the side of the road? And I know Mark's handy, at least as far as I've heard about Cody. I've heard stories, but I haven't seen it quite firsthand. Yes, he's got a generator in the truck, woo. But I just recall with our issue with the wing, a couple of years ago. I mean, Mark went and bought every nut and bolt in the greater. Goodness gracious, where were we? What
Great where we
area was
were.
that?
Well, we bought everything at the Home Depot in Columbia, like 5 minutes from my house.
Well,
Yeah.
there, but also,
And then,
but at the oval, when we had to do that little oval, Mark had found like this little handy or like this little hardware
It's like a little
store.
hardware store, yeah.
yeah.
And I think he literally came back with 2 bags full of nuts and bolts. It's just like, how many did you get? He's like, all of them.
Yeah.
Just try and
Like,
follow
we're
the
not going to
work.
run out.
Exactly.
You should have seen him in the Home Depot. He was like a kid in a toy store. He goes, "Oh, I'll grab one of those, put that in there. I'll grab one of those. Oh, I've got one of these, but I don't have one right now."
So speaking firsthand, I know that these two guys already are embodying the spirit and the of the event, which is great, and I think that'll have a positive impact. Going back for a moment now to Hooked on Driving. So obviously, Hooked on Driving Northeast, which you guys have, is a sponsor. So it's sort of a dual deal here. So you have the local sponsorship. The regional sponsorship, excuse me, who's taking care of all the certificates for track time for the winners here, or losers, whatever you decide to do. The people who have come in last, if you want to give it to them, that's your prerogative. Um, but also, we have a great partnership now that we've just re-upped for a 3rd year in a row with Hooked on Driving, the mothership, as well as Everyday Driver. I finally got it right this time. And having the opportunity to have sat down with Paul and yourself, Mark, this past weekend, you are very right in saying that there's a lot of not just synergies, but a lot of very interesting things happening. So why don't you tell us a little more bit about regionally Hooked on Driving, what you guys do, and more importantly, why it's the perfect way for people to sort of warm up for the one lap.
So I'll start on that, Mark. What's great, I think, about is the Northeast of HOD, and I'm pretty sure all of HOD feels the same. Is we have a huge range from somebody that's the first time that they're on the track, first time that's ever even been to a track before, to the experienced pro driver that races every weekend. Right? We can host such a wide range, and we have different groups for all different levels. Our novice drivers that never been on track will get paired up with a coach that's been certified in MSF2, and they'll work with them throughout the entire day to show them the ins and outs of the track, how the car performs, how it handles, even into simple tasks of how to prepare your car for the track, how to make sure your tire pressures are correct, make sure that you have the right fluid in them, in your brakes, and make sure that you're safe. I mean, at the end of the day, we all want to be safe. And then on the other side of the spectrum, we have the pro drivers that are looking for test and tune track time, right? So they're coming up and running in our unrestricted class, which still isn't considered racing, but it's considered a very high performance class of driving. And they're testing the cars. So and that's what I love about HOD. You literally can collect everybody. It's such a broad range of anybody that has the enthusiasm to be on track, to enjoy the car scene, to enjoy their cars, period, or just be surrounded by like-minded people that enjoy that atmosphere. HOD is the place to be. I mean, that's all I got to say. What do you think, Mark?
Yeah, that's all absolutely perfect. And another thing that I really do like about what we do is we do travel to a lot of different tracks. And we're fortunate in the Northeast region to have a lot of iconic tracks. With Lime Rock, Watkins Glen, we went to VIR. So we've got these 3 hugely iconic tracks that we get to go to and people get to experience. And then even going beyond that, as you go to more tracks, every corner all of a sudden you'll realize, hey, this corner is a lot like the corner I took at that track. So maybe I should try this. Even though it's a completely different track, corners at different tracks start to build a dictionary of corners in your mind, and then all of a sudden they all just start to make sense. So which is why you see a lot of pros, within 3 laps they're within 10% of the maximum the car is going to do. that's because they've driven about every track in the country, and they automatically know, they see a corner, and, ooh, this is a late apexer, I got it, so they get that. That's one great thing again that HOD offers, is the many different tracks, a lot of different experiences. You've got that much more stuff in your toolbox when you hit the one lap to, yeah, you may not have been on this track, but this corner looks a lot like, coming into the boot at Watkins, or, whatever. So, yeah.
And it's interesting because you talk about sort of HOD and first timers. If memory serves correctly, you were a first timer at HOD. I mean, for me, it seems not that long ago, but what, 10, 11 years ago now?
2013, October of 2013.
Right. So, I mean, you're a perfect case study for this, realistically. I mean, you started there, and I had the pleasure of working with you in 2013 then, and also a perfect example of what you've heard me talk about numerous times in these broadcasts. It's bringing people into the sport, showing them what it's about, and then purely from a selfish reason to have playmates later on that you can play with on track. But you build that community, and now here we are, 11 years later. You're now running HOD. You've been in the one lap now since you're, effectively third time going around here. And you're bringing more people into the mix, and we're able to spread the word even more. So it really is something special to watch, and I've been fortunate to see, and I've really been excited to see your progress. And you've raced in NASA, obviously you've raced with them and the spec stuff. You've got some cool cars. But pausing for once, I want to digress for a second, because Claire has just sort of been watching all of this happen. So 2 questions. 1, when are we going to see you behind the wheel of a car? And 2, what's your take on the one lap? Any interest in coming out and joining us, or are you just going to go off to Italy again and do that?
I mean, I think Italy's appropriate.
It's okay. Anne's off doing like Disney cruises too, so we're used to
Right.
this.
Yeah.
If Italy was the option, I did not know about it this year. No, I'll be holding down the fort with dogs. Will you see me in a car? Did you see the video of me in the car at Watkins? Did you see
I don't
that?
think so. I don't think I have.
Check your text messages. I think you missed that. That should probably be a series that I do of places I don't belong. Yeah. Places I don't belong here, but I'm going to get through it. So yeah, it's a good time. Maybe I'll start tracking, but I'm kind of enjoying being behind the scenes and doing all that. And I'm sorry, what was the second part?
I was just asking, what's your take on the one lap? I mean, is this something that, because it's a little bit more of an adventure as well as opposed to just track days, because you get to see a lot of things, is that something you might have an interest in?
I think it's more fun when Mark asks where he is. So I like being the map provider for him.
Okay.
It's also a lot of fun to, in Bryan's coverage, it's a lot of fun when, you spot, there's a little proof of life out there. So, I like to spot them, and I like the interviews. So no, I probably won't be joining, maybe someday, but for now I'll be home.
Well, we thank you for all the hard work you're putting in, because truly, I mean, if you look at the social presence on HOD recently, it's been very extensive. It's been encompassing. And one of the things that I really like that you're doing, and I should start doing it also, and I'll do it now, but is thanking all of the coaches / instructors, whatever you want to call them, as well as all of the people that go into making the event what it is. Because a lot of people often see the finished product, but they don't understand everything that goes into making the sausage. And I'll begin this year by saying, Bryan, thank you so much for being a part of my sausage for a number of years. It's been very...
And this is Bryan leaving the conversation.
All right, well.
but But surely Claire pointed out, the broadcast, I couldn't have done all the broadcasts all the years and done everything, especially Bryan taking over a lot of times as well, as the voice of the one lap many times. So a big round of applause for Bryan,
Yes.
my man. There you go. So getting back to the HOD stuff, where let's say I'm a first timer now, I'm watching this interview and what do I do? Okay, so you've told me about this great program. It sounds like it'd be great for a first time person. So tell me how to find out more information about it, but also if you can briefly walk me through what a day is like, what happens if I'm a first timer.
Yeah, so if you want to find out what's up, what's next, all that, go to hookedondriving.com, look for events. There'll be different regions down there. Click on the Northeast. Our list of events coming up will all be listed there, the dates, all that good stuff. Register, get yourself an account, and then at that point you can sign up for an event. Now, once you've signed up for an event, there are a couple of things you have to do. You have to sign a waiver, of course, and then you have to have your car inspected, tech inspected. So there's a form of things that need to be checked. If you're qualified yourself, you can do the self-check. If you don't feel you're qualified, take it to your mechanic. Your mechanic can go through the list fairly quickly, make sure the car is safe to be tracked. Now, when you're your first time coming to the track, we typically have very first thing we'll have coaches meetings, all that good stuff. Then we'll have an all hands drivers meeting. So every person that's registered to drive, including coaches, we typically meet outside, hopefully in a nice sunny dry spot. Do our announcements, talk about the day. People will register, check in, get their wristbands for the appropriate run groups, schedules for the day. After the all hands meeting, the drivers meetings, we'll break up into our separate run groups. And that's where, if it's your first time, you're going to go to the A group, you're going to meet your A group leader. They are going to talk to you about the rules of your group, the passing, the no passing, the hand signals, all that good stuff. Hopefully you've already read flags. And then from that point on, it's, you're going to meet your coach. You're going to do some parade laps in the morning with your coach to kind of get a feel for your car and the track and your coach. You'll have some classroom times where our classroom coach will, talk to you about car dynamics and how to drive on track correct. Not where to drive on track, that's for your coach, but how to drive on track. Now, then you'll get some track time. Your coach will be sitting right seat. You have communicators, all those good things, so they can kind of build you up. Especially if it's your first time, you'll be really nervous. I can't make it through this corner. No, you really can. Let's go. And that's your coach's job, is to give you the confidence in yourself and your car to step it up a little bit in the corners, and so, or anywhere. So your days will pretty much go like that. You'll have a session on track, classroom session, some downloads with your coaches, and then at the end of our, usually if it's a 2-day event, at the end of our first day, we hold a pretty big barbecue where we've got music and hamburgers and hot dogs and salads and all that good stuff, and just get everyone together, hang out, and just talk about how much of a great time we all had.
And I can tell you, it's a great time. Having been with HOD for quite some time, it's the atmosphere is second to none. I mean, you really can't beat it. And it really is sort of an extension of the one lap as far as that motorsport community goes. Bryan, I mean, you see this down in in the southern region as well. But apart from that, you have any other questions for Mark, Cody, Claire?
You were asking Cody about what tracks that he was looking forward to during the week. Cody, what are you most looking forward to get out of the experience of doing your first one lap this year?
Good question.
I would think, honestly, the camaraderie. I just want to meet people. I'm a real down people person, right? So if I get to meet a bunch of people that have the same passion that I have, that's a win in itself. It's a bonus to be able to drive on the tracks. It's a bonus to be able to haul to the tracks, but just being surrounded by the people is the win in my eyes. Whether we come in first place, last place, in the middle, honestly, to me, it doesn't really matter because I'm just enjoying the time. So.
And Solomon, we have to remember to ask him that question again when he
About
sees
Wednesday.
when he sees high plains.
Well, when he sees some of High Plains, because he's not going to be able to see all of it from the paddock area,
Yeah,
right?
that's true.
So that'll be interesting, for sure. Catch up with him there, and then at the end we can see, how many friends he's actually made, or if he's cowering in the back seat in a fetal position, saying, "Like, bring me home. Too many beaver nuggets." We'll see.
Too many beaver nuggets.
He's never seen a Buc-ee's. He's never been in a Buc-ee's.
Buc-ee's.
I don't think we'll be passing any
Oh no.
this year,
What?
but we will be passing the world's largest truck stop, Iowa I-80.
As
Yeah,
long as
but-
we have snacks, that's all I care.
How are we having a one lap with no Buc-ee's?
I mean, we've only had Buc-ee's truly on the one lap for what, 3 years now? I don't think we've encountered any
Yeah,
before that.
the last two I've been there. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was when it started, because prior to the pandemic, I don't think we were ever on a route where we went by one.
A couple times we went to MSR Crescent. We went
I don't
past them.
think
We just never
We
stopped.
we drove past it, right? We never patronized Buc-ee's, right? So I think what Cody needs to do, and I think Claire, what you'll be responsible for, is him putting together, every time he gets snacks from a rest stop, he needs to start doing reviews on snacks, and it could be the official HOD Northeast snack review throughout the event.
Yeah,
So-
that's a great idea.
You could also spreadsheet of all the snacks, because
I
I
love spreadsheets.
The planner comes into effect right there.
I love spreadsheets.
check in with Cody and what is the snack profile today. So
And
So I will
the
say,
other,
if
the other
everybody
review,
sees out, make sure you come see us. If you're feeling a little hungry, we will have snacks on board. So anytime you guys need anything.
I mean, Solomon tested the size of my trunk so we could know we could fit enough snacks in there.
that's true.
I'm gonna
And
throw down
another,
though and ask that there be another sushi boat incident. Got to bring that home.
one can only hope.
It's true. So, Brian, your job is to find a quaint sushi place on the way that
In the
we
middle
can
of the desert.
descend on. It's like you think about sushi in Topeka. It doesn't usually go, but it did.
was great.
And it was fantastic. But yeah, we
And
have
3
to
years
find.
later. 3 years later, it's still a great story.
It is.
Well, I know we won't find sushi in at Putnam Park, but we will find the world's greatest gas station pizza.
This is true.
Yes.
We'll find Casey's there.
Very
That was
true.
good.
Yeah.
Casey's there. So we have our own list so far that we've been compiling over the years, but that's more of restaurants and places to stop, not the actual snacks themselves. So I'm very curious to see that, and I'm curious to see what Mark thinks of the variety of snacks and how they wind up processing, shall we say, in the vehicle.
Yeah.
So that should be.
Air fresheners galore.
I don't know who pulled the fuse to your windows. It's
Right.
couldn't have been me.
Mark, put your windows down. Oh, you don't have to. You broke them out.
Yeah, that's a great Solomon joke. He hits the window switch at the most opportune time.
Strategic. It's called strategic time.
It's called
Thank you.
plan ahead, get ahead.
Yep, exactly.
I've actually opened the door at 80, threatening to jump out.
I said, wait, let me get my camera, but that's fine. It's all good. But
Also-
if you can, yeah,
Will you be interviewing wildlife this year? Because that was a good time too.
potentially, yes. For those of you who may have caught it, we've interviewed some wildlife walking by. This was Great Smokies we were in,
Yep.
Yes,
and
it was.
yep, and we caught up with some four-legged friends, and they weren't very talkative, oddly.
No.
So
I do like the people that were trying to feed their young children to the bears.
that was.
Oh, no, they weren't trying to feed them. They're just trying to pet them, which could eventually be the same thing.
Yep. Absolutely. Well, if you can't tell, this is what you're in for a week, easily, right? This type of banter, and as the hours, there's a very clear correlation between the hours you're in the car and the degradation of the conversation. So it goes into very interesting things and territories that we'll be sure to try and bring in this year. But again, we're very, very grateful to have you guys on board. Very grateful for HOD Northeast. for all the regions who we work with generally, as well as HOD Maine and Everyday Driver, Paul and the guys there. Your support means a ton to us. We're happy to be working with you, and vice versa, and we can keep doing so. But yeah, so thank you for joining us, Mark, Claire, Cody, and my lovely co-host Bryan. So for the 2000, you have to where's your finger thing, because it doesn't work for me. Bryan has the magic touch. Look at that.
It doesn't work.
None
It
of us
doesn't-
can do this. I don't know why.
You have to come in from the sides where you can't see it, and then
Title of my. Oh no, wait, I can't say
I'm
that. on
coming from the side. You just have us all doing this. There's a button pressing. I'm convinced.
No.
here. I'm not even trying.
So for the 2024 Tire Rack One Lap of America, presented by Grassroots Motorsport Magazine, with coverage brought to you by Hooked on Driving, Everyday Driver, and the Valente Group, I'm Solomon. That's Bryan. This is Mahogany Ridge Racing and Claire. We'll see you next time. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.